Have you ever wondered why some people earn more money than they ever dreamed of and still end up broke? Think about that for a second. How is it possible for someone to make millions of dollars and lose everything? How is it possible for someone to get a raise, earn more than they ever have before, and somehow feel even more stressed about money? And here's the question that nobody talks about. What if the biggest thing keeping you broke isn't how much money you make, but how you think about money in the first place? Because if you don't understand this, you could spend the next 10 years chasing more income and still end up exactly where you are today. And that realization changed my entire understanding of wealth. If you're serious about building a better financial future and escaping the cycle that keeps millions trapped, subscribe to the channel right now. Every video is designed to help you think differently, earn smarter, and build lasting wealth. Now let's talk about something that might make you uncomfortable. Most people believe money problems are income problems. They think, if I could just make a little more money, everything would be fine. And sometimes that's true, but not always, because there are people making $30,000 a year who are slowly building wealth. And there are people making $300,000 a year who are drowning in debt. How can both be true? The answer reveals one of the most important financial lessons you'll ever learn. Money doesn't solve financial problems. Money exposes them. Imagine giving a leaking bucket more water. Does the bucket become useful? No. The water simply disappears faster. The same thing happens with money. If someone can't manage $1,000, giving them $10,000 often creates bigger problems. If someone can't manage $50,000 a year, earning $100,000 may simply lead to bigger expenses, bigger payments, and bigger stress. The amount changed. The habits didn't. And habits are what determine financial outcomes. This is where most people get trapped. They spend years focusing on earning more, but almost no time learning how to keep what they earn. Think about your own life. How many hours have you spent working for money? Thousands? Tens of thousands? Now ask yourself this. How many hours have you spent learning how money actually works? Probably not many. And that's not your fault. Most schools teach people how to earn a paycheck. Very few teach people how to build wealth. As a result, millions enter adulthood knowing how to work, but not knowing how to win financially. And that creates a dangerous cycle. Money comes in. Money goes out. Month after month. Year after year. Life becomes an endless race between income and expenses. You work hard. You get paid. You pay bills. You buy things. You start over again. And before long, years have passed. Yet your financial position hasn't really changed. That's not freedom. That's survival. And survival is exhausting. Here's something most people never realize. There are two financial games happening at the same time. The first game is earning money. The second game is keeping money. Most people spend their entire lives playing only the first game. They become obsessed with raises, promotions, side hustles, overtime, new opportunities. But they completely ignore the second game. And the second game is the one that actually creates wealth. Because wealth isn't what you earn. Wealth is what you keep. Let that sink in. A person who earns $50,000 and keeps $10,000 every year is moving forward. A person who earns $200,000 and spends every dollar is standing still. One is building a future. The other is funding a lifestyle. And lifestyles are expensive. In fact, one of the biggest financial traps in modern society is something called lifestyle inflation. You earn more, so you spend more. You get a raise. You upgrade your car. You move into a bigger house. You buy nicer clothes. You eat at more expensive restaurants. Your income grows, but your wealth doesn't. You feel richer, but you're not actually becoming richer. You're simply becoming more expensive. And that's a dangerous place to be. Because the higher your expenses rise, the less room you have for mistakes. One unexpected bill. One emergency. One job loss. One financial setback. And suddenly everything begins to fall apart. That's why some people who appear wealthy are actually financially fragile. They look successful from the outside. But behind the scenes, they're carrying enormous pressure. Massive payments. Huge debts. Constant stress. They're trying to maintain an image. And images don't create wealth. Assets do. Now here's a question that might change how you think about money forever. Are you trying to look rich? Or become rich? Because those are two completely different goals. Looking rich is easy. Credit cards can do that. Loans can do that. Debt can do that. Actually becoming wealthy requires patience, discipline, consistency, and most importantly, self-control. That's why personal finance is often less about numbers and more about behavior. The greatest financial battle isn't happening in your bank account. It's happening in your mind. Every day you're making decisions. Spend or save. Consume or invest. Impress others or build your future. Short-term pleasure or long-term freedom. And those decisions compound over time, just like money does. Imagine two people. They earn the exact same income. One spends every extra dollar the moment it arrives. The other invests a portion consistently. At first, they look identical. But 5 years later, 10 years later, 20 years later, their lives look completely different. Not because they earned different incomes, because they made different choices. Success rarely happens overnight. Financial failure rarely happens overnight either. Both are usually the result of small decisions repeated for years. That's why awareness is so powerful. You cannot change what you refuse to examine. Take a moment and ask yourself, where is your money going? Not where you think it's going. Where is it actually going? What are you spending money on every month? What habits are helping you? What habits are hurting you? What purchases bring real value? What purchases are simply emotional reactions? These questions matter, because every dollar you spend is a vote for your future, a vote for your priorities, a vote for the life you're creating. And here's where everything starts to change. Once you gain control over consumption, you unlock something incredible, the ability to build. Because wealth isn't created by consumption, it's created by production. The people who build significant wealth eventually learn how to create value. They solve problems. They help people. They develop skills. They create products. They build businesses. They produce something useful. And the market rewards value. The more value you create, the more opportunities tend to appear. That's why your financial journey shouldn't stop at saving money. Saving creates stability. Producing creates growth. You need both. Think of it like a tree. Controlling your spending strengthens the roots. Creating value grows the branches. Without roots, the tree falls. Without growth, the tree never reaches its potential. The strongest financial future comes from mastering both sides. Learning how to manage money and learning how to create more value. That's the combination that changes lives. And here's the biggest lesson of all. Money is not the goal. Freedom is. Money is simply a tool that gives you options. Options to choose how you spend your time. Options to help your family. Options to pursue your dreams. Options to live without constant fear and stress. But money only creates freedom when it's managed wisely. Otherwise, it becomes another source of pressure, another source of anxiety, another burden to carry. That's why financial freedom starts long before your bank account reaches a certain number. It starts the moment you decide to become intentional, the moment you stop drifting, the moment you stop reacting, the moment you take ownership of your financial future. Because nobody is coming to save you. No magical opportunity. No lottery ticket. No secret shortcut. The good news? You don't need one. You don't need to be born wealthy. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need extraordinary luck. You need awareness. You need discipline. You need patience. And you need the willingness to make decisions today that your future self will thank you for. The truth is, your financial future is being built right now. Not someday. Not next year. Today. With every decision, every purchase, every habit, every action. And if you've made mistakes in the past, that's okay. Everyone has. What matters is what you do next. Because your past financial decisions do not have to define your future. You can start over. You can learn. You can improve. You can build wealth. And you can create a life that looks completely different from the one you're living today. The question is, will you? If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment below. And tell me this, what's the biggest money lesson you've learned the hard way? Remember, the goal isn't to earn more and spend more. The goal is to build a life where money works for you instead of you working endlessly for money. And the best time to start building that life is today.